Hi guys, my name is Somay Munde, and I just recently got the rank of 476 in Civil Services Examination 2015. Um, I'm just here to give you some advice on essay. I got 138 in essays. Last year I got 128, one of the better marks among the selected students, and I'm I'm talking to you on request of my friend Anuj Jindal. I was taking a great initiative for giving guidance to people on RBI. Uh, so basically, the essays in RBI or UPSC or any other exam for that matter are almost similar. What is required, how to approach them, and all the other things. Other things might differ. For example, in RBI, you might have to concentrate more on objective, and in your UPSC, you will have to concentrate on subjective for the mains exam. But as far as essay is concerned, there are a lot of similarities, and that is the only reason I'm talking to you today. Even though I have no experience with RBI, but I'm pretty sure, having seen the kind of topics that are given to RBI students, I think the similarities would matter. So that was about what is to be expected in an essay. Second, we are going to talk about which essay to choose. There are 4 5 essays that are given in 4 4 options that are given for in each of the essays, in whichever exam it might be, and in RBI also there are choices given. So which essays to select? There are some few pointers that you need to remember before you choose a topic. First is always go through all the topics one by one. Do not let us say there is one topic which is at the top, which is the first choice, and it is very enticing. Don't directly go for it. There might be a better topic down the line. So do go through all the topics. Do not pre-decide or zero down on a topic without going through all the topics. Second, as you're going through each and every topic, try to form a structure or a set of points that you might already have in your mind, or which might be already prepared because of by the virtue of your preparation before. So try to jot down or at least keep in mind what are the points that are there. Third, you must choose an essay that is going to give you maximum amount of points. Uh, uh, Preferably the essay for which you already have a quote in your mind, already have an example in your mind, a kind of essay that a topic of essay that you are already comfortable with. So do try to go for that. Don't try to be extra innovative there. We have to be very normal. uh, Choose an essay based on your ability to provide analytical points, specific data, and effective introduction. So if there is an essay which has for which you know the data, for example, there is an essay on health and you know the statistics on health. So I think it is better to go for that essay if you already have that kind of a background. Suppose there is a essay on death penalty for which analytical points, the quotations by different thinkers are already there in your mind. So I think you should go for that kind of an essay. If there is an essay for which you have come up with a very good introduction, very catchy introduction, so I think you should go for those kind of essays. But always keep that in your mind when you are going through each and every topic. What are the points that I can come up with? Based on that, you are going to select the essay. There are people who like very specific essays. There are people who like very broad essays. For example, in 2014, in mains exam, UPSC Civil Services mains exam, there was an essay about was it the policy paralysis, or was it the paralysis, was it the lack of implementation of policy that led to lower growth in recent times. Now that is a very specific essay, very direct. If you have already points in your mind, I think you can just jot them down. So I chose that kind of an essay. But there are also essays that are very broad-minded. For example, this year I wrote an essay which was very broad. For example, its topic was something like the dreams that India should dream about. I think it's a very broad essay, but I still went with it. The idea should be, what is it that you feel comfortable with at that point of time, and that is going to come through practice. In my first attempt last year, I preferred the kind of topics that are very direct and very, very specific. I like those kind of topics, so I practiced essays on those kind of topics. It depends entirely on you what kind of essays do you like. We are not going to make a value judgment on which kind of essays are better. Are they either broad ended or are either very specific? Both of them can lead to a very good score. So do form your specialty in either of them. It would be very good if you can if you can be comfortable in any kind of any of these essays. So do keep that in mind. So how do we manage the time during essay? We are given 45 minutes to write an essay, and what I believe is that 5 minutes should be enough to select an essay. Say 35 around 15 minutes you should give for writing the points, forming a structure, and the remaining time for writing the essay. But do give separate time for forming a specific structure, coming up with points, because once you start writing essay and later you come to know a better point or a better introduction, it's of no use. So it's always better to form a very clear cut structure and then go on to write the essay. So everyone must have told you about so we are now coming down to how do we actually write an essay. So everyone must have told you about there are 3 parts to an essay: introduction, body, and conclusion. And I think that distinction is very important. Don't let go of that distinction. Don't abruptly start an essay, don't abruptly end an essay. That gives a very bad flavor to your essay in spite of it having very good points. So do stick to that, but do have predefined strategies for that distinction. For example, in introduction I had different strategies. One was started with a quote, another was started with an interesting story, the third was just a general introduction to the topic. So introduction is very important. Why? Because the examiner is going to go through number of papers, and everyone is going to start in the same boring way, and the person who is going to catch immediate attention of the examiner is going to get good marks. So it is very important to catch his attention. For that, these 3 strategies I had used. For example, I had identified numerous quotes under different headings and had already kept them in my mind, so that if a topic on those subheadings would come, I would write that quote. For example, I had written a quote about the social justice. Under social justice, I had written a quote which was there in the speech that Jawaharlal Nehru gave on the independence, Tryst with Destiny. So there are a few lines of that. I had copied them in my note and I had written them down, and that I could use in the my essay that I wrote this year, that was dreams that India should dream about. So that whole quote I wrote, and I went on to explain that quote, and then went on to start an essay. Now that led to a very good start. So you should clearly identify different quotes under different headings. One could be social justice, one could be freedom, one could be importance of ethics, one could be fundamental rights. So different kinds of quotes I used to form on the different subtopics, and then I would mug them up, and so that if any topic relating to those subheadings came in the exam, I would write that quote. So do identify those kind of quotes. Another kind of strategy for introduction is interesting story. Now interesting story could be, now this year there was an essay about I don't remember the exact topic, but the basic point was that without value education, your technical capabilities are not going to be of much worth. Now that is the kind of essay. Now that is a very recurring essay that keeps coming up. So for that I had already had a very interesting story. I started with comparison between Satyam and Infosys. Basically that B. Raju and your Narayan Murthy, both of them of same caliber, both of them reached to the heights of corporate corporate world, and went on to form multi-billion-dollar companies. But it was a difference between the values in them that led to one being a very still icon, and another being in jail. So I think that kind of a story would better catch the attention of the exam. Another could be a general introduction. Not that why general introduction is still better than sometimes quote and interesting story is when you are not able to find any quote, when you are not able to find an interesting story. So at that point of time, wasting time is not going to be of much use. Just start in a simple way, start introducing topic, find the keywords and start introducing them. That would be much better. Don't lose your heart if you are not going to find an interesting story or quote. Don't just leave it. Start with a very simple language, very interesting, a very simple introduction. Another point that you should keep in mind is that always keep it short. Introduction should be short and interesting. So don't let it go beyond a page. Having only 400 words to write, I mean you should keep it very short, say 2 paragraphs, that's it. If you are mentioning a story or a quote in the introduction, do mention how it is related to the topic. That is very important. Don't just mention the quote and start off on a different note. Do go on to explain how it is related to the story or the quote. Another thing that the 2013 topper Gaurav Agarwal used to do is that at the end of the introduction, as the introduction is over, he would go on to explain how he is going to write the essay. So basically he'll say, first we'll discuss this, then he'll discuss that, then he'll discuss that. The advantage of that kind of a thing is that examiner gets into his mind what is the kind of structure he's going to expect in the essay further down the pages. So he'll already anticipate what is going to come and he'll better understand your words. I think that is something that I really like. Do check his essays if I'm not very clear. They are there on his blog. Now let us come to the second part of essay, that is body. Now introduction is going to catch the examiner's eye, but it is the body that is going to fetch you marks. Body and the conclusion. Body is very important because it opens up a door to your analytical mind. That is very important. How do you analyze the topic? How do you understand the topic? How do you put forth in a very simple words? That is going to come in a body, and that is very important. There are people who use subheadings. There are some people who do not use subheadings. I did not use them. There are many people who have used them. Last year's topper, UPSC topper, used to have subheadings. She used to have subheadings, and it fetched a very good marks. So the debate on subheadings or no subheadings is not really relevant. Whatever is comfortable to you, you should go for it. There are few points that you should keep in mind in with respect to body, is that do not try to compress too many points in the few paragraphs. It is only going to lead to essay being seen as aggregation of number of points without a very clear flow or without any tangible conclusion to the essay. So what is very important in body is that you should have a very clear flow. One paragraph should seamlessly merge into the next one, and that is very important. So don't try to compress too many points. Even if you have 3 points in the whole of the essay, whole of the body, it's more than enough. If you go on to explain it very clearly. Remember that it is not an exam of knowledge, it is exam of how do you present it. So do have a flow in the body. Sometimes it leads to a situation where one paragraph is not really connected to another. So I used to use number of different words as a connection between 2 paragraphs. For example, alternatively, subsequently, additionally, all these kind of points that I would, all these kind of words I would use. For example, if I'm discussing political factors in one of the issues, and the next comes the economic factors, I would use additionally, economic factors, go on to explain this. So do keep that in mind. Use data if you have them. Use very relevant data if you have them. It doesn't really matter if you know the data very correctly. What I mean to say that you should use the data only when you know it, but it's not necessary that you should know it to the 1 decimal or 2 decimals. A ballpark figure is fine, but do use data. Also use the sources from which you are taking the data. For example, you can say that CACP is saying CACP says that 40% of the grain from PDS is leaked. Now that is one kind of data that comes from CACP. Now that is so the sources of the data are very important. Don't forget to mention them. Another point is examples are always better than a description. For example, if you are trying to talk about a particular point, rather than describing the point, if you come to an example after a very brief description, I think that creates a better understanding. It is a better indicator of your understanding. Um, for example, if you are talking about importance of education in prison, I think the best way to you can go on to explain how education goes on to improve, rehabilitate prisoners. But one direct example can be the program that was launched by Kiran Bedi in the Tihar jail, and that led to number of people going on to giving exams, getting degrees, and clearing different competitive exams also. So that is a direct example from real life that leads to a better indication of your knowledge. So always use examples rather than description. Another point in body is that always end on a positive note. General theme of the essay should always be positive rather than being too critical. Um, there obviously there will be very negative topics that might come in essay, but always be positive, because at the end of the day the examiner is also a human being, and leaving essay on a positive note is going to leave him in a better state of mind, and he's bound to give you good marks. So uh, always end on a positive note, even if you are criticizing the particular issue or the government on particular note. So do end it on a positive note. Now let us come to the conclusion. That is the third and final part of the essay. Uh, Conclusion is important because it summarizes your essay and uh, basically ends it. So how do you end it? It's very important, because that is the last thing that he has read just before giving you marks. So it's always better to impress him at that point of time. That is why conclusion is very important. There are different strategies for conclusion that I had already formed. One was one was writing a quotation. Another was tying introduction to the conclusion. When I say what do I really mean by tying introduction to conclusion, is that for example, suppose I have written a quotation about Tryst with Destiny in the introduction. So I would try to introduce that back to conclusion. That gives a kind of a loopy structure to my essay. It shows a foresight in my mind that I somehow try to reconcile even the introduction and the conclusion, and try to connect it to the topic. So I think that will lead to a better conclusion. Another could be just end it with a quotation, just end it, of any good quotation or any good maxim you can use. For example, I had formed a number of Sanskrit magazines, Sarve Bhavantu Sukhine, or Nishkam Karma, or these kind of different maxims I had found out, and I had jotted them down. What are their meanings? Vasudev Kutumbakam. So these kind of maxims I would write at the end. So that would give a bit of different ending to the essay. Another could be always just before you end the essay, you need to conclude what you have all written. So in a very concise way, in 2 or 3 sentences, if you can give a basic theme of your essay, I think that would be a better. So give a basic theme of your essay and end it with a quotation or an introduction, conclusion mixture, or a maxim or a term, anything like that. But always end it on a positive note. There are other few points that I need to mention. One is that do not ever jump out of the territory of the essay topic. It is very important to be confined to the topic, reinforcing again and again what you're writing is related to the topic is very important. So always stick to the topic, always use the keywords that are given in the topic. That leads to identification in the mind of examiner that you are sticking to the topic. Do not make any loose argument that loses the momentum that your essay has gained in spite of giving very good points earlier. So it's always better to skip an argument if you cannot put it in better words, rather than give an argument which might be good but not very impressively put. So always do stick to good arguments that you can write down very nicely. Do not use hi-fi words. Very simple words would do. Vocabulary, very good vocabulary is not necessary. A basic, simple vocabulary that comes in newspapers is good enough. In fact, using words that are very are not in common use normally will lead to mistakes. It might be you might use it in a different context than it is originally intended to be intended in. You could examiner may not understand that. So do not use very simple words. Another point that I need to mention is that stick to the word limit. Do not extend the word limit, because examiner is reading lots of papers and he is not going to read 600 word essay. Stick to the word limit. Mm. About practice of essay, you are going to give a lot of time to other topics because there is specific syllabus to that. But for essay, there is no syllabus. Basically, whatever you are going to read in other topics, you are going to use in essays. But writing an essay is a different style altogether. It's a different ball game. So you need to practice it. I practiced a lot of essays and it paid me. I think same amount of efforts in essays will lead to better marks. Essay is a kind of topic that is going to fluctuate a lot, and the marks are going to fluctuate a lot, and you don't want to end up out of the merit list just because you got less marks in essay, in spite of having good knowledge. So do practice essays. Do not once one essay in say a week is going to be enough. Say you practice 10-15 essays before you go to exam, more than enough to write very beautifully. So do practice essays. Uh, do not neglect them. They are going to fetch you marks. They are going to reduce the uncertainty that you are going to have in your mark sheet. Um, that's it that I have to say. All the best.